Hey, how's it going, new people to Hellfire Tactics? Got a beginner's guide, an unofficial beginner's guide we're going to be doing today. Now, just a quick note to preface this video. Right now, the game is in beta, so there could be major changes that happen between now and whenever you may come across this video, so check the pinned comments of this video. And if there are major enough changes that everything I said here is just, you know, a moot point, I'll say it there and I'll include details to maybe a new video or just whatever details need to be said. But so, you know, I'm going to assume that maybe you've never played an auto battler before or just not the specific one. So we're going to go over just the very basics of the game in this video. So the first thing you're going to want to do, my opinion, is open up the Codex. The Codex is very useful. There's also going to be a growing wiki that's probably very fleshed out by the time you see this video. The first thing it's going to list are the archdemons. So whenever you start a new game, you're going to have a choice between 3 random archdemons. That's going to be you, essentially. That's going to be your character. And I'll be honest, if you're a brand new player to this game, you don't really need to spend too much time on this. The effects that these have, you're going to learn over time, but I wouldn't even worry, really, about the archdemons yet. What I'd be more interested in is trying to learn, you know, what are these things? What is a unit? You can, you know, they're basically going to be cards, essentially, for you that you can put down on your board, and they will fight automatically, hence the auto battler title of the genre. So when you look at the units here in the Codex, it's going to show you everything ordered by the cost. And you can, you know, you can filter down if you want certain cost levels or not. But the thing is, this is going to usually correspond to your character level. So every time you start the game, you start at, we'll say level 2. We'll say cost level 2, just so we don't confuse things. So what you're going to have is you're going to have 2 mana every turn. You can think of mana as gold or just the resource that you spend to buy these things. You'll notice the cheapest ones here, they all have a 2 next to their name right here. So like next to Animanaut, you see a 2, Bloodsucker, you see a 2, all the way down till you start to see the 3s. So when you very first start a match, you're only going to see 2 costs. You're only going to ever see the amount that corresponds to your level, outside of some you know, specific situations with certain heroes. But we'll just keep it simple for now and say that you'll only see the number up to the level you're at. Now every round you're going to get 1 experience point, and it takes 3 experience to level up to the next level. And once you level up to the next level, you'll still see the old stuff. You'll still see 2 costs, but you'll also now see 3 costs mixed in. Now when you buy these things, you'll always want to hover over the card or the unit, and they all have some sort of unique thing attached to them. So you see like Animanaut here says, whenever I start a fight on a slot I have not been before, I gain +1 attack permanently. That's kind of a complicated one, so maybe let's go to another one. Let's go to Bloodsucker. Gain +2 attack for every other vampire on your board. That's pretty simple, right? You can see here there's always some traits listed below the name of the unit. This one is small, that's the size of it. Vampire, that's like its guild or whatever you want to call it. And then beast, that's just some trait about the unit. So gain +2 attack for every other vampire on the board. You can search here for keyword vampire and see what the available vampires are. So, you know, already at a 2 cost, you have 2 units that can synergize with each other. Keep in mind also, if you just have multiple bloodsuckers, those count as additional vampires. So you basically gain a +2 attack every time there's another vampire. And then it also has this other keyword here called overkill. Excess damage when attacking is applied to a random unit on the row behind the original target. So just wanted to go, I'm not going to go over all of these, but just wanted to say this is something you should probably take a look at to really learn what each of the units do. But let's go ahead and start with training. You always want to start with training instead of just getting rolled by the human opponents. So one thing that's unique about this is every game there's going to be random set of 2 unit type bans. So you'll see here Demon is banned and Radican is banned. So we will not see any Demons and we will not see any Radicans on this specific playthrough. It just keeps things kind of fresh. Now we select our Archdemon, and obviously, like I said, not worth getting too into this. I'm not going to choose a Rat Skull because he's a very unique hero that changes quite a lot. We'll just go ahead and choose we'll choose Guardian Zoe. It has nice things to learn from. So this hero power, it says the unit in slot 4 gains barrier. When a unit, by the way, in training, in the normal game you're going to have like a timer to make decisions, which also further means you should start with training so you have time to like figure stuff out. So Guardian Zoe, the unit in slot 4 gains barrier. When a unit's barrier breaks, they gain +1/+1 permanently. So you'll see these numbers here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That is the slot number. You'll see a lot of units or heroes or even artifacts, or relics, treasures, whatever you want to call them. I'm sure there's an official name, I can never remember, but essentially you want to know which slot each slot is because they have different interactions depending. Now this won't come into play until we find a unit that does it, but you'll also notice there's these lines between the slots. So between slot 1 and 5 we have this line. That's called a link. So slots 1 and 5 are linked. Slots 2, 6, and 3 are linked. So 6 could link to 2 slots, 2 and 3. And then 4 and 7 are linked. Now you can do things throughout the game that grants you additional links, but these are always the default links. It's always this pattern here, like a V in the middle and then the 2 sides. For these units up here, it's not going to matter, but there's several units where the links are going to provide some sort of benefit between units that are linked. So right now we have 3 units to choose from. It's going to be random each time, and then we have a ritual, or you could think of it as a spell. That's also going to be random. You'll see down here, my level is listed as 1. Now this is kind of the confusing thing. I predict they'll change this at some point, but for the moment, I'm starting at level 1, but when I'm level 1, I have 2 mana, and all of the units that show up are 2 cost. So you can kind of think, I think of level 1 as essentially I'm cost level 2. I have 2 mana to spend every turn. I only see 2 cost units show up. Now the spell that comes up, the ritual is what they call it in this game, could be 1. I guess at this level they'll all be 1 cost, but they can be wildly variant in what they cost. Now up in the top right, we have Inflame, which is essentially just if I want to lock these choices for the next round. I'll show that in a bit here. So I can choose Mana Pest, Sprout, Bloodsucker. I can only choose one of them because I got 2 mana here to spend. They cost 2 mana. Or I could cast a spell and not buy any of them. That would be very stupid though, because I should definitely get a unit on the board. It'd be pointless to say that I attack first in the next fight when I don't have anybody to attack with. So let's just go ahead and choose the Bloodsucker, because that was a unit we've already looked at. So it is just what it is right now. It has 2 attack. The number on the left is their attack. Number on the right is their health. 2 attack, 1 health. Nothing too impressive, but we know that if we can find additional vampires, we're going to get temporary +2 attack. Whenever it says gain attack or anything of that sort, it'll specify permanent if it's actually going to be permanent. So Guardian Zoe specifies here when a unit's barrier breaks, they gain +1/+1 permanently. Now keep in mind, what does my hero power say? It says the unit in slot 4 gains barrier. So why would I put this unit in 1? I should put it in 4, right? Look at that, it gained barrier. Over here, no barrier. Over here, there's this icon around it to signify it has a barrier, like a like a shield, like a bubble shield. And now when I hover it, over here I hovered it, no barrier. I hover it here, it says barrier. When a unit should take damage, it instead takes none, but loses the barrier instead. So I'm protected against all sources of damage here. It doesn't matter if the dude was doing 1,000 damage, it will block it all, and then the barrier goes away. And then, because my hero states that when a unit barrier breaks, they gain +1/+1 permanently. So when this barrier breaks, I will now become a 3/2, and it will stay that way moving forward. So that's pretty neat, right? That's different than the +2 attack I gain for every vampire on board. Let's say I have 2 bloodsuckers, they will now both be a 4/1. But if one dies during the battle, the remaining one will go back down to a 2/1. So now we've bought our unit. We have nothing else to do this turn other than to figure out what position we want. Well, we're pretty obviously going to put it on position 4 here. And now we just want to figure out, do I want to lock these choices for next turn? So if I lock them, I'll begin the fight will play out, and then we go into another round. You'll notice my level over here right now is a 1 with no additional green marks. Now remember when I said we gain an experience after each fight? After the next fight, we're going to see our 1 gain, about 1/3 of a green circle here, representing that we're 1/3 of the way to advancing to level 2. And then also in the next fight, if I don't lock these choices, I will get a completely new set of units to choose from and a completely new ritual. If I lock them, then I will get still this choice, so still the Manifest, still the Sprout, still the First to Fight, and then this empty slot will get filled by something random. So if I, for some reason, let's say I saw another vampire here that I couldn't afford, I would definitely want to lock that probably for next turn, right? That way I can gain the bonus. But since none of these really are vampires or really synergize, we may just not want to lock this. So we'll say that we don't want to lock it, so we get a full set of new choices. So let's go ahead and hit, oh, and on the left here, we're going to have the list of 8 opponents. If they're human opponents, we would see their name above their character, but since they're all bots, they're just going to match the name of their archdemon. And you'll see this skull here. That's the dude that we're fighting. So we're going to be fighting Roquois in this next fight. You also notice the number 40. I have the number 40 as well. That is our character health. Let's say we win this fight, which honestly we probably will, because Guardian Zoe kind of just is that powerful early with the barrier. So if we do win the fight, however many units we have left over are going to hit the enemy for 1 damage, plus my character will hit the enemy for the amount of damage equal to my character level. So then they'll lose that HP, and if you lose all the HP, that's when you die. And if we had seen this unit before, I could right-click the portrait, and it would give us a preview of what they last had when we saw them. But we haven't seen anybody yet, so there's nothing to see. So let's begin the fight. Now, when the fight happens, the way that it works is it'll go in order of number, and it's going to be a 50% chance to determine whoever goes first. You don't have any control over that outside of doing something like haste. So if I had wanted or had the extra resources to spend 1 mana to attack first, I could guarantee that I win that 50-50 by casting this First to Fight ritual. But since we didn't have the mana to cast it, we're going to have a 50-50 to see who goes first, and then the way it works is whoever is in the lowest number slot is going to be who attacks first on your squad. So if I had a guy in 1, they would attack, then the other person attacks, and then if I have a guy in 2, they'd attack, so on and so forth. We only have 1 guy though, so it's not really going to come into play here. Alright, so I attacked first, not that it really mattered there. If you are, let's say I didn't have the barrier, we would have both our units would have died. But since I had the barrier, he survived, he gained 1/1 permanently. Now I have a 3 attack, 2 health guy. Now this is a really good spell, free mana. You will almost always want to see this early on, and you'll always want to cast it, usually. And look at this, we have a fresh set of new units. We saw one that we already saw. which is the sprout, but you know, it's going to be random. It's not like it's the same sprout from before. It's a new one. But you'll see this shiny graphic around Bloodsucker. That's to signify that we already have that unit. Now, why is it shiny? Well, because when you buy 3 of the same unit, so if I were to buy 3 Bloodsuckers, they will combine and upgrade into a single upgraded Bloodsucker. And not only that, but you'll see these 3 boxes down the bottom left here. Though those are slots for our treasures, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to get offered between a set of 3 treasures to put there. So we'll definitely buy the Bloodsucker. Now pay attention. This one has 2 attack, 1 health. This has 3 attack, 2 health. Remember the card text here, gain +2 attack for every other vampire on the board. Well, this is a vampire. Look at that. Now it's 4 attack and this one's 5 attack. Now also, I have 1 mana. I can't afford these, but this free mana spell, I can spend 1 and gain 2. Well, we should definitely do that. So to do that, I just drag it onto my board. I've cast it. Now, by the way, by default, you can only cast 1 ritual per turn. And I'll get into that later, but now I'm going to choose Water Elemental just to illustrate the linking. So you'll notice this Water Elemental says linked units get +2 health. Keep an eye on this Bloodsucker's health, 4-1. Now it's 4-3, and you get a highlight on the links because this unit actually cares about linking, right? So if I put it here, it would go back down to 1 health because it's not linked. If I go here, it's at 3 health. Now, if you played other auto battlers like Storybook Brawl, it's a little bit different, right? Normally in Storybook Brawl, a backline support would always do the 2 units in front, but that's not how it works here. It really matters where the links are. So I link here, it's 4-3. I link there, it's not. And let's say I wasn't Guardian Zoe, I'd probably want to do something like this, right? Because 6 links to 2 slots. I can get the +2 health on both of these. But since I'm Guardian Zoe, we always really want to cash in on that barrier. But we would definitely want to link these guys, right? Now I could also do it the other way, right? I could put this guy in front and the guy in the back's getting the health. However, if that means Water Elemental is going to attack first, and not only that, he's going to be in line to be attacked. Now, another thing to think about here is outside of specific units like assassins, the enemy will always, you and the enemy are only allowed to attack the front row if any front row units exist. So let's say if I did it like this, the enemy would always have to attack this unit, and they would not be allowed to attack these units in back until this unit is dead. When this unit is dead, then they can attack these. But if I put them all up here, they can attack any random one of these. The targeting is completely random. So that's something to think about. As such, though, we want to put the Water Elemental in back because it doesn't have much health, and if we put it in the front, it wouldn't really make much sense because it's just going to die. And if it dies, well, this is just going to go back down to a 1 health. Hopefully that makes sense. Now, I could also still have the opportunity to lock this Sprout if I wanted or not. And you know what? I am going to go ahead and just do it just to illustrate it. So I'm going to leave it locked, and we're going to begin the fight. I would probably not normally lock that, though, for the record. So, right, I attack first, random, and it's random which target, but it has to be in this row, right? Now, unfortunately, we didn't hit our barrier there, so we did not actually get a permanent +1/+1, which was kind of sad. That, by the way, if you really wanted to, you could do this to force that barrier to get broken. I could have done that, and maybe I should have done that, but that's just the nature of bots. They're not so good. Against a human opponent, I would probably never do this. But it is something worth considering. You can make little decisions like that to try to force the fight to go how you want it to go. So we have some decisions again here. You'll notice that Sprout that we locked remained. You know, we locked that Sprout. It's the same one in the same slot. It's carried over from the last fight, but then we get a new ritual and we get 2 new units to choose from. So Mana Pest is a nice one because, yeah, it sucks that doesn't have any attack, so it doesn't actually help you kill the enemy, but what it is it gives you resource, right? On death, you gain a mana for the next fight. So let's say I'd had this mana pest down, and I can just put one down. You know, it says I have 4 out of 4 mana. Oh, and you know what? I also didn't, I guess, explain the mana properly. I think I'm remembering now. My goldfish memory is kicking in. I think at the start of this video I said that you're always going to have the mana equal to your level. That's not true. It's every round that goes by you gain another max mana all the way up to 12. 12 will be the max that we would be gaining each turn. But so it's, you know, the first round we had 2 out of 2. Second round we had 3 out of 3. Now we're in the third round. We had 4 out of 4 before we bought this. Now we have 2 out of 4 mana. Just something to note. So we have a few options here. You know, the sprout, nice thing about the sprout is unlike the normal 3 copies that you need to combine it and upgrade it, sprout only needs 2. That's kind of what it's all about. However, this Vampling probably has a little bit more synergy with what we've got going on here, right? It is a vampire, therefore these bloodsuckers will have even more damage. So now they're doing 6 and 7 damage. And the nice thing about this Vampling is, you'll notice it says, on my first attack, give all other units +2 health. Now that's not permanent health, it'll just be 2 health in the battle, but that's still pretty nice. So we want to put Vampling in slot 1 so that it has the chance to attack first, right? And then we give all the other units health. Now I'm going to do something a little fancy here. I'm just going to give the health to this guy, because like we saw last time, the Bloodsucker didn't get to break its barrier, so we're not really getting to cash in on that +1/+1. And also we have an additional unit here that really wants to die, right? We want that Mana Pest to die. It has 0 attack, so it will not actually trigger an attack while it has 0 attack, but it can still get attacked by the enemy. We want to bait the enemy into attacking this. I could even argue against even playing the Vampire, because I almost don't want to give this guy health, but we'll do it just so we see the effect in action. Now, you'll notice our circle is almost complete here. That means next turn, we are going to advance to level 2. Now in level 2, we start to open up a new cost of unit, which will be the 3 cost units. So it's often not a great idea to lock your stuff going into the next level, because you almost want to see a whole entire fresh new set of units. But it's still okay to lock them if, say, I was sitting on a Bloodsucker here, because I'd want to like get the triple combined for the next turn. But we don't really want this, we want a full set, so we're just going to go ahead and begin the fight. Hopefully, if the fight goes how we want it to, how we're trying to get it to go, we want the Mana Pest to die, and we want the Bloodsucker to break its barrier. Alright, so we attack first, I got all that health, we broke the barrier, I get the 1/1, things are going well. Now we just need this guy to die. This would have been a good... Okay, we did. But that would have been a good argument to not have the Vampire attack, because we gained health, causing the Mana Pest to survive the first attack. Luckily they attacked it twice, and it died. So now you'll see, normally I would have 5 out of 5 mana here, but because the Mana Pest died, on death gain +1 mana, I have 6 mana out of 5 to spend, on this turn only. So we have the new set of units here. You'll notice there are 3 and 2s now. You got the old 2s, but you also got new 3s in the mix. And you'll see this Solid Shadow has this kind of shadowy animation, I guess. And that's because it has the hidden keyword here. Can only be attacked after it attacks, unless it is the last unit left. Now, similar to like the barrier, where it has that barrier keyword, it has a, you know, a graphic. And I actually expect probably at some point even something like Overkill might have an animation attached. But it's just something to note. When you see a unit with this shadowy frame, it means they're hidden, and you can't, your units will not actually attack it unless it's the only option left to attack. So we've got a lot of stuff to do here. I think I'm I wouldn't normally do this, but I'm just going to buy both of these Mana Guardians so that I can try to get a unit tripled before too long. And just to also note, we just fought Gordo. I right-click them, and it's like if I forgot what they had, it'll show me what they had. It's not going to show me what they currently have. Like, they're obviously still buying units. It's not going to show us what they've bought since then, but it just is a nice reminder to let us know what their board looked like the last time we fought them. And maybe the next time we fight them, we can plan accordingly. That becomes more of a thing once you get down to the one-on-ones, though. As these characters start to die out and we survive to the end, it's important to know what the enemy has on their board. And also, you know, there's this Arcane Excess ritual. That is, you know, like I said, you have the default formation here on the linking. Something like an Arcane Excess can change that. That can make it so I just cast this on a unit and a new link will temporarily open up with the first slot. I'm not going to do that though. I'm going to buy just these so that eventually we can, you know, get them upgraded hopefully. Now, we have options here. We can try to win the fight, but because we got a full board here, but we also have these 4 slots at the bottom here. That is our bench. So we have 4 bench slots. Think of it like a sports team. You got your starting roster. They're the ones in the game. Or you can just put some people on reserve, and they won't be in the fight, but you'll still have the unit for future turns if you want to put them in, or if you're just sitting on doubles and you eventually want to triple a unit. You know, these are things you can do. And, you know, maybe we don't want to play every unit, because here's the thing, if I don't play these units, I'm almost guaranteed that this Mana Pest will die, thus giving me more mana next turn. And the Bloodsucker is pretty much guaranteed to lose its barrier, giving it an additional +1/+1. I think I like that, right? And I can make a judgment call and say, maybe I still win the fight, or if I lose, it's not enough HP that I care about. So let's go ahead and just go into this fight. Down a few people and see how it plays out. Look at that, we already got the Mana Pest dead. He had overkill, so it did 1 damage to the water elemental. We lost the barrier, great. And it looks like we're probably still going to win the fight, so we made the right call. We have overkill here, so it kills that unit. The way overkill works, by the way, excess damage. So I did 4 attack. That unit had 2 health. So, 2 of the damage went into killing it. But since this unit has overkill, the leftover 2 damage that didn't go into killing it goes to the back. So we got a new set of units here. We see the shiny on the Mana Pest because it represents a double. Let's go ahead and just buy that. We had the 7 out of 6 because we got the Mana Pest to die. We got the Scatter Shot. Now some of these rituals do a bunch of different stuff. Sometimes it's just something like this, where it's essentially just like a nuke to the enemy. Like deal 2 damage to every unit in the back row. It's like if an enemy casts this against me right now, it would kind of be rough on me, right? I would lose the Water Elemental, which would lose 2 health there, and this guy would just die. Now we can cast that just to show it. Why don't we? So we'll drag it here. Cost me 1 mana. Scatter Shot. Now, we also have a reroll. I haven't showed this yet. They call it Store Purge here, but essentially what it is I'm going to spend 1 mana out of my 4. Since I don't like these choices, I'm looking to try to triple a unit. I'm basically saying I don't want to spend my remaining mana on these units. Give me a whole new set. So look at that. Now we've got another double and actually triple. Now we have a new ritual as well. However, like I said, by default we can only cast 1 ritual per turn unless we have it, a treasure that lets us do more. So if I try to click Forgotten Armor here, give a unit +3 permanently, I can't drag it. I'm trying to drag it right now, it won't work. That's because I already cast Scatter Shot. So sometimes if it's not that good of a ritual, you might want to just wait if you plan on re-rolling, that it might be a better one. Because honestly, I would have rather spent Forgotten Armor here. I don't care too much about a 1x 2 damage to the enemy, but I think a permanent 3 health to one of my units would be pretty snazzy. But because I bought that, I can't do this. So now we have 2 Mana Pests, right? Like I said, if you have 3, this is what's going to happen. So look at this. Select an artifact. I got these 3 to choose from. And now, if I forgot what my board looks like, I can go to the top right here, see this eyeball icon? I can click it. I can take a look back at what my board looks like. I can see if I have any other treasures, you know, all the information. And then we can click it again to come back to the choice. So, Death's Contract, the first unit to die each fight gains 1/1 permanently. It's pretty nice for scaling. Beast Skull, normal size units gain 2 attack. That's, you know, that's going to be not permanent. Like I said, whenever there's a permanent stat increase, it will specify the keyword permanently here. So since this doesn't say permanent, all it means is as long as I have this Beast Skull, any unit that has the normal size instead of small or large, right? Normal size units will have a temporary 2 attack boost as long as the Beast Skull is active. But the minute I remove Beast Skull, because keep in mind we can only have 3 artifacts at any time. I guess they do call it artifacts. So artifacts, so basically, you know, to compare Death's Contract and Beast Skull, the moment I remove Beast Skull, my normal size units lose that 2 attack bonus. However, with Death's Contract, if I later remove it, all of the 1/1s that I gained are there to stay. You know, because that was a permanent boost attached to the unit. And then Speed Potion, remember how I said there's a 50-50 to determine whoever attacks first? Well, Speed Potion overcomes that. That means that now you're always going to attack first. However, keep in mind, your enemies can also get Speed Potion. You know, just because I picked one of these artifacts does not mean that the enemy cannot get it, right? It's not a shared pool of artifacts. It does mean that if I pick an artifact, I myself can no longer see it while I have it. So like, I can't get 2 Speed Potions, for example. I can't get 2 Death's Contracts. But my enemy can have a Speed Potion at the same time that I can have a Speed Potion. So when that occurs, it goes back to the usual 50-50. But I kind of like Death's Contract here because I really like that permanent scaling. So I'm going to choose that. Now, if I for some reason didn't like these 3 choices, I can also just skip it and gain 2 mana back. It actually happens more often than you'd think, but early on I'll almost always take an artifact if it's halfway decent, and this one's definitely halfway decent. So now I have 1 mana to spend. These are where it becomes a little bit awkward. Now, let's say I did want to buy a unit here. Oh, and real quick, so the Mana Pest, you'll notice I no longer have 2. I bought that 3rd one. Now I'm left with 1 Mana Pest, and the graphic on it is a little different than the other units, right? The other units have this sort of silver or iron border. This one just has like a dark black border, and behind the unit there's kind of some dark red flames simmering in the background. That represents that this unit is upgraded. Now, when a unit gets upgraded, a number of things happen. Basically, the base stats of the unit. So remember, the base stats of a Mana Pest was just a 0/1. They're going to get doubled. So if they had attack, it would have got doubled, but since it has no attack, it did not get doubled. So it's pretty unimpressive on a Mana Pest, right? They're the lowest stat of any unit. So it just went from a 0/1 to a 0/2. However, let's say, for example, on a Mana Guardian, let's say I find a 3rd one there, that will turn it into a 6/6. And also, any sort of card utility text attached gets doubled usually. So like, remember, Mana Pest used to give me 1 mana on death. Now it gives me 2 mana on death, you'll notice there. And the same thing would happen with this Mana Guardian. It would give me 2/2 permanently whenever I buy a magical unit, if it was upgraded. And another thing to actually keep in mind here is any permanent stat changes that you gained along the way will get carried over into the upgraded unit. So I could illustrate that right now. I don't know that I would normally do this in a game, but I just want to illustrate this. So see both my Mana Guardians here. Let's pull them up just so we see the stat change a little easier. So they both have a 3/3 right now, but their card text here says gain 1/1 permanently whenever you buy a magical unit. Well, this water elemental does say magical, right? Normal, elemental, magical. So this is a magical unit. However, I cannot afford it right now. but I'm impatient and I want to afford it right now. So what I can do is any unit I have always sells for 1 mana if I drag it back to the store. So I lose that unit, but I will get 1 mana back to make a purchase right now. So of these units, I'm just going to go ahead and sell the Vampling. You know, I really like to have this Mana Pest. By the way, it doesn't matter if the unit is upgraded or not, they're always going to sell back for 1 mana. Doesn't matter if there are 2 costs, 3 costs, 4 costs, whatever, it always sells back for just 1 mana. I already have doubles here, I have doubles here, I'm going to gain a double here. And I like the Mana Pest. As much as I like this Vampling, it seems like the best option for me to sell, right? So I'm going to sell it back. Now I have 2, and I can afford this. Keep in mind, they're both 3/3 right now. I buy this, boom. They're both 4/4. So the way you can do this calculation is, let's say I upgrade this unit now, and I find it next turn or something. Keep in mind their base stat was 3/3, right? So the base stat is 3/3. So when I upgrade, the base stats go to 6/6, but since both of these units had a +1/+1 applied, that means I'm going to get both of those +1s carried over to the upgraded unit. So instead of just a 6/6, it's actually going to be to 8/8, assuming I don't get any additional permanent upgrades. And I don't think I'm going to lock these. You know, I could if I really wanted to spend this ritual. Sometimes I might, but I just want to see the maximum number of new units. I want chances to triple these units because I'm sitting on 3 sets of doubles here, right? I also probably should have took some units off so that I forced this Mana Pest to die. Oh, right, and then I had that scatter shot applied so it wrecked their backline. We may not lose the Mana Pest here. We pray to RNGesus that this guy attacks it. Oh my gosh, RNGesus loves us today. Look at that. We're going to get some big damage in on here. It's 4 plus our level of 2, so we do 6 damage to Joe Binks. Poor, poor Joe Binks. And, well, look at us. We go and sell our Vampling and 2 more show up in the shop. Could you imagine that? We have quite a lot of gold to spend here. 9 and 7. Now you'll notice this Grek 3-cost unit here. It also has some permanent scaling. One thing you'll notice about Hellfire Tactics versus a lot of other auto-battlers is there's a lot more permanent scaling. And I really like that. I think permanent scaling is just really satisfying and fun. By the way, we are very dumb here. We put the water elemental in the front. That's a no-no. That was stupid. Okay, I never said I'm perfect, but maybe it makes more sense to do something like that, right? We keep the health low in the Mana Pest. We put some health on these units. That would have been the smart thing to do, probably. But, you know, I'm not always the smartest, shall we say. So this Grek has a lot of stuff going on here, right? We see that on end, gain +1 attack permanently. And then it explains end. End occurs when this unit attacks and kills the target unit. I'm going to go ahead and buy this just so we can illustrate what it does. Let's go ahead and just do this. So because my Mana Pest has no attack, by the way, I can put it in slot 1 and it will just won't attack. So we know that Grek will be our unit that attacks first. So I have 4 attack right now. However, on end, I gain 1 attack permanently. Now the way end works is if I kill the unit, that end trigger will apply. So in this case, if I kill a unit when I'm attacking, I will get 1 attack permanently on this Grek. Now keep in mind that means specifically when the Grek is the one attacking. So if an enemy attacks the Grek and dies, I'm not going to get that end trigger. You know, in Storybook Brawl, this would be the same concept as a slay. So it's something to think about. You want to, for people that have end, you want to try to give yourself a good opportunity for them to be the one that does do the attack and gets a kill. And on top of all that, this is an assassin. Assassin, target the unit with the least health first. So remember when I said the enemy can only attack the front line until no front line remains, and then they can attack the back line? Well, Assassin can bypass that. If the enemy happens to have the unit with their lowest health in the back line, Grek is just going to jump right past the front line and kill that, or, well, try to kill the back line. You know, basically whatever unit has the lowest health. Now I could buy both these Vamplings, but that would cost me 4 of my 6 remaining mana, which means even if I buy them, I probably would have to re-roll and sell another unit to get a triple. I'm going to make the determination here that I just want to keep rolling, and this is a spell that I don't really want. It just says every unit takes 1 damage after attacking. I think I could spend my mana on better stuff. We got the Clan Lord, which is a great unit by the way, but still, for the purposes of trying to illustrate some of these stat changes, I really want to try to find a triple. It's offering me a lot of doubles on other units. Come on. I know there's some triples. You know, sometimes this just happens. Sometimes RNGesus loves you, sometimes it hates you. Now, this is an interesting spell. I might just lock it just to show what it does. We should probably just do that, just to illustrate what it does. And who knows, I might just do this normally anyway, because it's really powerful. So, let's just go ahead and let this fight play out. We'll see if we can get an end on Grek. So Grek will target the lowest health, which is going to be probably this guy, the 1 health, which did not turn out in our favor because it had a barrier, so it did not get an end. We got hard countered by the bot here. We might lose our first fight here against this bot. Yeah, I think we will. They got a pretty big Grek in the back here. So we lose the fight, and we're going to take 4 damage. Woe is us. Also notice our Death's Contract has been silently doing good things for us, so that Grek was a 4-4 last turn, technically a 4-2, but I'm getting the 2 health buff from the Water Elemental. Now it's a 5-5, because even though I didn't get my end, I still had him die first, so I still at least got the Death's Contract. So, normally, this promotion, you'd want to use it on a unit that was already upgraded, because the way this works is, you know, I cast it on a unit, and it will, if the unit is already upgraded, the random unit that you get is going to also be upgraded. However, but if I cast it on a unit that is not upgraded, then the unit will be unupgraded. However, whatever I cast it on will persist any permanent stat changes that have been made. So, for instance, this Grek was a 4-2, now it's a 5-3 because of Death's Contract. Whatever, if I were to cast this here, whatever I transform it into will still have that +1/+1 applied. It's just something to think about. You can really use promotion to create some broken stuff that way. If you use one of these permanent scaling units like Grek, or in Guardian Zoe's case, you know, whatever's coming in on the right here, like this might actually be a pretty okay one to use this on, because, you know, say it's like a Clan Lord, right? They start with like semi-okay stats, but you'll notice on their end trigger, they gain the stats of their starting attack and health of the enemy that they kill. So if they survive that damage, at 4 health right now, that's probably not going to happen. But if they survive that damage, then they get a ton of stats. Not permanently, but for that fight. We might want to just try to YOLO this for Clan Lord, because imagine, you know, the Bloodsucker starts at a 2-1, right? So we can tell, based on the fact that it's now 7-6, that we've actually gained +5/5 on this unit. So if I were to promote this unit and it became a Clan Lord, it would be a Clan Lord that instead of being at a 4-4, it would be at a 9-9, and that's pretty powerful. Granted, yes, we do lose the double here, but why don't we just go ahead and do that just to illustrate what it comes into. Now keep in mind I have no agency over what it turns into. It's going to turn into a random 3-cost unit. Whatever cost the unit is, it's going to convert it to a random unit of 1 cost higher. So if I did it on a Grek, we'd get a 3-cost unit. If we did it on this, we'll get a 3. If we did it on a Grek, we'd get a 4-cost unit. If we do it on the Bloodsucker, we'll get a 3-cost. Okay, well that's not the best one to do it on, but actually it's pretty okay for Guardians though. So it's Automata. You notice normally they're a 3-1, right? Well, since I have a +5/5 on it, I'm an 8-6. Now its effect is adjacent units with 2 or less health start the fight with barrier. Now keep in mind, with my Hero Power Guardians, though, it doesn't matter if it's just this unit over here. Any unit that has barrier will get it. So right now, I only have a few units that even have 2 or less health. Let's go ahead and just use one of them, though. Why do you have that much health? Oh, this guy must have died first in a fight, so he has 2-3. Yeah, he must have got the Death's Contract. So we want to put two units with 2 or less health on either side of this automata. So we're just going to do it here to illustrate it. So what happens is during the start of the fight, I'm also going to gain barrier on these units, and if that barrier is broken, I still get the additional 1/1 in all of those units that have the barrier. So, I'm going to keep rolling here. Normally I wouldn't, but I really do want to just lock in a triple on another unit so we can show... Okay, let's just do that. I guess I'm not going to get another barrier, though. So, some of these, you know, elementals gain 2/2. We do have one elemental, that water elemental. We have Wraith Insurance. Now, some of these artifacts, like Wraith Insurance, are artifacts that are only have a temporary effect. So it says if you lose a fight, gain 4 mana, and this artifact expires. So that's like a one-time thing. It means you lose one fight, you get that one-time 4 mana boost, but then you never get more value out of that artifact. So it's kind of a one and done. Since it's going to be hard... Actually, you know what? Let's go ahead and just illustrate this one. I would normally probably pick one of these because Hammer of Destiny is really good, but let's just illustrate how this works. So I'm going to purposely lose the next fight, but I'll still... Is this probably going to win, though? We'll try. I still want to illustrate this. We'll see. We'll see. Okay, so let's re-roll a few times. Oh, we also hit a new level, so we're seeing 4 costs mixed in now. And here we go. We got another one here. So now, because that was a 3-cost unit that I combined, by the way, you'll see I'm get a 3 next to these treasures. These are 3-cost treasures. So when I was combining 2 costs like Mana Pest or the Water Elemental, I was getting 2-cost treasures. You know, Death's Contract is a 2-cost treasure. Wraith Insurance is a 2-cost, but now, you know, I have this Mana Guardian that's a 3-cost, so I get a whole different tier of treasures to choose from. They're typically going to be more powerful the higher their cost are, right? So like Scholar's Pledge here, if you're running a lot of magical units, we only have 1 right now, I think. We can always check, right? We can look back, hover our units. None of them are magical. This one itself isn't magical, but this one is magical. So, you know, it's a 3/5 right now. I could cast a ritual, and it would just gain 2/1 permanently. And any magical units I had would also get that. So Scholar's Pledge can be good if you have a lot of magical units. You can also check your shop and see if any of them are magical. You know, we have the magical unit here, and this is also a magical unit, Serpentina. Granted, you do have to have the unit bought in order for that to trigger, right? So, let's say I take the Scholar's Pledge. If I cast the ritual, only my Water Elemental gains the stat. The stuff in the shop is not going to gain the boost unless I buy it. And then cast the ritual. Hopefully that makes sense. Let's go ahead and take that. Hellfire's nice. You gain a health every round. And you can go above 40, by the way. You can go up to like very high levels of health, or just all warriors gain 3/3. We don't even have... We have 1 warrior. Yeah. Well, let's just do this Scholar's Pledge just to show it. And also, I should probably take this Buke. Oh, by the way, so yeah, the Mana Guardian. So it was a 3/3 at its base. Becomes a 6/6 because we upgraded it, and every additional upgrade since then also got applied. So we had plus 4/4 of total upgrades from buying magical units. So it's actually a 10/10 now. That's a pretty big unit, right? Let's go ahead and lock this. This is a good example of like I see a lot of stuff I like here, right? Like I just took a Scholar's Pledge and I want magical units. Also, buying these magical units gives me now a plus 2/2 permanently on this Mana Guardian, so I'm going to get even more stats on it. And because I have the Scholar's Pledge, anytime I link something for the fight, I get additional stuff for these. So let's go ahead and do that. That also very stupid for me to be giving this guy health. That was not my. This is not my greatest moment right here. All right, we get the buff. You'll notice there because it got the barrier. The barrier got removed. I got the buff from my hero. If I was smart, which I'm not, I would have not put the water elemental in this spot, and this guy also would have gained a barrier and then got a 1/1 once it broke. So let's remedy that mistake. Something like that. Alright, we got another Bloodsucker. We could buy it. But I think, first of all, I'm going to buy the Serpentina for sure. Now keep in mind, 10/10 on the Mana Guardian. Boom, 12/12. And I also kind of want maybe another Water Elemental. I don't know. It's going to give me another 2/2. It's something that benefits from Scholar's Pledge, so let's buy another one. Oh, look at that, 14/14. Now I got a pretty good thing I can do here. I mean, I got 5 mana left. I can buy this. I can buy this. Why not? You know, the Buke. This is a unit that automatically gets barrier, which is great with my power, right? And it's a unit that when its barrier breaks, I additionally get 2/1 permanently, plus 2 and 1. So on top of the 1/1 that I'm already getting from Guardians, though, I'm going to get a 2/1 permanently. So every time this guy breaks his barrier, I am going to get 3/2 permanently, you know, with all these things combined. So let's go ahead and do that. I could put it in anywhere, really. I guess, you know, it's going to be hard for it to break its barrier all the way from back here, but so be it. It would be kind of pointless to put it here, because I'm already getting a barrier on it, so we might as well let that unit have the barrier as well. We could also stat up any unit we wanted, right? But the nice thing about Serpentina is it's another one of these units that benefits units that are linked to it. And right now, there's nothing. So this unit has a counter. You'll see some units get like this counter because they have some effect that really stacks up and gives these sort of in-fight boosts. So Serpentina here reads, give linked units +1 attack for every ritual cast. So from the time I buy Serpentina onward, every ritual I cast will increase this counter by 1. And also, right now I'm gaining no attack, right? I'm gaining no attack because I haven't cast a ritual. Now when I do cast this, and keep in mind the links here, right? So this says make a unit link with slot 1 for the next fight. So right now I'm only linked to slot 2 and 3, which are the default for link 6. I'm going to cast this right here. Boom, look at that. I got another link between 1 and 6. So we got a link between 1 and 6. Now I'm getting that extra +1 attack on my Mana Pest, which for the purposes of what I want to do with it are great, right? I want it to attack. I want it to break the barrier and be ready to die, but also gain that 1/1. And now you'll also notice, because I got that ritual cast, I'm now giving an additional attack to every unit that's linked with it. So this guy went up to 9/6 instead of 8/6. This Bloodsucker went up to 4/2 instead of 3/2. And also, because I cast a ritual and I had a Scholar's Pledge, this Serpentina, which was a 3/3 before casting this, became a 5/4 because I got a 2/1. Also, this Water Elemental that was a 2/1 became a 3/3, and this one became a 5/6. So this is what we call synergy, right? We're creating a lot of synergy for this deck, doing a lot of things that work nicely with one another, kind of cashing in multiple times, cashing in some benefits multiple times for what we do there. Now I could lock this for a double on Bloodsucker. At this point in the game, we're level 3. We're not level 1 anymore. I don't really care about getting a level 1, or shall we say 2-cost unit upgraded. And I don't really want to lock for units that are below my level. So I'm going to not lock here instead of locking, and we'll just begin the next fight. And hopefully a lot of good things happen for us. Now the bots aren't so smart, right? They're like, they got a, well, I'm not even going to get into it. Don't expect smart play from the bots. You think my play is dumb. They put me to shame. So Buke goes from a 6-3, got the 7-4, then the 9-5. It's crazy. Oh yeah, and also, ranged units, didn't even explain that. You'll notice that Serpentina, instead of like moving toward the enemy like normal units do and taking damage, she just shot the enemy sitting back there. Didn't take any damage and applied her damage. That's the ranged keyword. The ranged keyword is very good. It means that I can attack without being actually damaged in the process. A lot of times you want to put a ranged unit right here, but Serpentina is a little bit unique because it's like she's you know, benefiting units based on being linked to them, so you kind of want to cash in on that. And these are two great units to double here. You know, Buke, Serpentina, we might as well double them, right? Now, keep in mind our Automata has kind of past its point of usefulness here. You know, units with 2 or less health or less get the barrier. There's going to be units like this where, you know, some units you can kind of keep for a long time in the fight. Other units, you might be inclined to just not. They're just kind of temporarily useful, right? Automata is like a very big example of that. It loses. It's really strong the turn you buy it, and maybe a turn after, but then it becomes kind of useless. Now it does suck that. Though that we transformed it and we have all of these permanent stats that went into the unit, so I probably won't sell it. But I do probably want to sell some unit. Right now, probably the unit that makes the most sense to sell would be either this Water Elemental or the Bloodsucker. Probably the Bloodsucker, honestly. Yeah, I did get +2 stats on it, but at least the Water Elemental is continuing to get stats from the Scholar's Pledge. This one isn't really going to do that. So we don't have to sell right now, though, right? And I could cast 2 mana for Power Surge. That's alright, but keep in mind that 5/5 is not permanent. It's just a one-time boost. I'm not really interested in that at the moment. Now we could do a power play here and do a Fire Sale. That, you know, it doesn't cost anything to cast, but it would delete our entire bench and give us 2 mana for everyone sold. Unfortunately, I have 2 really good units on the bench here. However, guess what? I did say there's some units that we could sell, right? Automata. I guess we could sell the Water Elementals. I mean, to be honest, I'm probably not going to use these Water Elementals. I may just want to keep the Automata simply because it has better stats, but maybe we'll just keep this one since it's upgraded. It doesn't really make sense though, does it? Maybe something like this. We're basically trying to get a bench together that we aren't too sad about selling. And I think this is probably the bench we're not sad about selling the most. Yeah, these are magical units. Yeah, this unit has a lot of permanent stat upgrades. Oh, I never did do the Wraith Insurance. I'm too worried about winning. Okay, let's do this. Let's do our Fire Sale. Now we got a lot of mana to work with. I could buy a double here. Sure. Alright, we got a triple here on the Buke. Let's go ahead and do that. Now we got... Ooh, okay. Okay, maybe I won't purposely lose. We can go ahead and do this one. Evolution. It's going to gain us 1 experience immediately. So see how we have a 3 here? And we're almost ready to get to level 4. If I take this, I will immediately get to level 4. And also, if I happen to triple another unit and replace this, because right now if I take this, keep in mind I only have 3 max slots for artifacts. I have to choose an artifact to replace. I'm going to go ahead and just replace this Wraith Insurance, because I'm so powerful I'm not going to lose any fights, right? Just makes sense. So what we're going to do is do that. Now I'm level 4, and if I get another triple, I can replace this treasure and it'll give me an additional experience. So that's pretty good. Also, because I have 2 of these Serpentinas, they're each getting counters every time that the rituals get cast. So we cast that ritual, they get their +2/+1, and they also get, you know, their extra stats. So I can put them in the back. Now we can make a choice here. I can choose that I want the extra attack on these units more on the 2 units, or I could say that I want the actual backline unit with more attack to be the one that attacks first. The nice thing about putting a ranged unit in slot 5 here is that once the front line is dead, they can kind of just keep firing, and then the units, you know, it's only a 1 out of 3 for them to get hit, assuming the enemy is targeting, right? And they can just kind of, if the units on the right get sacrificed, it just sort of keeps attacking the enemy with ranged. Hard for me to explain that one, probably too much for like a beginner video here, but you know, we could take the Unholy Knight, but we don't have any warriors, so that doesn't make any sense. We can just keep rolling here. At this point, we're not going to really be able to afford anything, but we're just looking for stuff that we like. You know, and if I see anything I like, I'm just going to lock it, right? I might as well use my mana. Keep in mind, whatever mana I don't spend does not carry into the next round. So if I were to just begin the fight right now with 1 mana left over, I'm not going to get an extra mana next turn, for example. So you know, use it or lose it, shall we say, is the name of the game here. And again, not interested in locking this ritual, not interested in locking these units. Now this, look at that. We used all of our mana instead of floating mana needlessly. So we have no mana left, can't buy anything, but look at that. I have some great stuff here. I have a Grek, which will allow me to get another treasure, which will allow me to replace evolution next turn, thus giving me another extra experience point. And for what it's worth, you know, I could get another Buke. They're pretty good with Guardian Zoe, but I also have this Magic Aura ritual. A little bit expensive, but that's a +3/3 permanently. I can cast on any magical unit, so I can cast that on Serpentina and get 3/3 on it, on top of the +2/1 that I'm going to get, on top of getting their counter increase. So this is what I talk about, right? Synergy. You want synergy. So make sure you click that lock. You don't want to lose these, right? If I don't, and I begin the next fight, I'd lose all that, and I would just be sad. Alright. Oh, and that unit had stun. It didn't matter, but for what it's worth, if my unit survived, they would be stunned, therefore they could not attack. Here goes the ranged hits. You can see them doing work. Didn't take any damage. Poor Manapest did not die, though. Alright, so here we go. See, I got 4 with 1/3 of the experience bar. Now we're going to replace the evolution with something else. None of these are really... So keep in mind, I don't have any warriors. We can hover people just to make sure, but I don't see any unit that is a warrior. So, and nothing in the shop that's a warrior. So we don't have any real reason to take Adventurer's Ring. We also, the Ghoul Hand, summoned units gain 3/3. We haven't encountered any summon units. A large part of that is because Radican is banned. They're pretty much one of the main summoning units, but there are situations that come up in battle where you can summon temporary units based on triggers. Usually it's on an on-death trigger, but let's say Manapest was a rat instead. Since a rat would read on death, summon like a 1/1 rat. So the unit would die, but then when it dies, it would replace itself with a 1/1 rat. In that case, Ghoul Hand would give them an additional +3/3, the summoned unit, but it doesn't really matter here. So we got two artifacts here that really are useless for us. We would never choose these. And then the health vial would be okay, right? We gain 1 health every round. Maybe we don't want that though because we're on high health. So this would be a great example of a set of treasures where if I had better stuff, I would just skip it for 2 mana. However, because we have this evolution that benefits from being replaced, we definitely want to replace it with something. Even if these did nothing for us, we would want to replace this, right? But health vial's alright. I gain a health every round on my hero. My archdemon, I should say. And let's replace this, and boom, look at that. I'm ready to go into level 5 next fight, which currently in the game is the max level. We don't ever go above 5. So I am now 2 entire experience points ahead of everyone else that, assuming they didn't get the evolution treasure. And we said I really want this magic aura. I'm going to go ahead and put that here. Look at that. Now I'm a 12-9 there. This grew to a 7-5, and I'm getting additional attack on the units that are linked. Now, I could re-roll for a better unit, but I already see something in shop that's alright. So let's go ahead and just get the Buke here. I don't want to lock for any of these units, so let's go ahead and use our remaining mana. And if we see anything we like, we lock it. So I do see a spell I like, but I don't really see necessarily any units that I want, right? I could get the Boost. The Boost is another unit similar to Serpentina that benefits units that are linked to it, but it only benefits certain type of units. So this says at the start of a fight, linked greeners get +2/+1 permanently. So this is a unit that really is meant to scale your greeners. Now we do actually have a greener here, right? Grek. So if we wanted, we could lock for this, and we would just put it right where the Mana Guardian is. That way every fight we just keep continually getting a 2/1 on this Grek, which is pretty powerful. It's also a magical unit, which gains value from the Scholar's Pledge whenever I cast a ritual. And I do have, again, this magical aura. That's a pretty good spell. So honestly, I think you could argue that locking this is fine. The only downside here is we're going into a new level, so we don't automatically get like a new set of all the max level stuff. So I can also see the argument against locking this, right? However, to illustrate Boost effect, I think I am going to lock this. I probably wouldn't lock this in a real game though. Alright, he dies, that's great. We're getting our stats from the barrier breaks. We're just continuing to scale. These bots aren't going to know what hit him. So he lived and he's stunned there. So if this fight kept going on, Buke would not be able to attack until they took additional damage. So let's go ahead and buy the Boost first, because that's what we planned on doing. Because if we cast the Magical Aura right now, I will not gain the Scholar's Pledge stat boost on Boost. So we should buy it first, right? And I can actually cast it on a Boost if I wanted to. There's some arguments for that. I wouldn't really do it though, because Boost itself is not a ranged unit, whereas Serpentina is. You really want your ranged units to get the stats. So let's do that. A very high statted ranged unit is very hard to deal with in this game. So now that we have Boost right here, Boost is going to be giving this Grek 2/1 every single fight, on top of whatever else this Grek earns, either by killing units or breaking its barrier. So this Grek is going to get pretty big. We don't like the other stuff, so we reroll. Unfortunately, see, this is like a great example of why maybe we shouldn't lock there, because now I'm down to 6 mana out of my 12. 12, by the way, is the max. I'm at max level. I never will get more than 12 mana. Well, I can go above 12 mana, obviously, with something like a Mana Pest, but for the record, the actual, how I kept gaining more mana every turn, it was like 10 out of 10, 11 out of 11, 12 out of 12. It never goes above 12 out of 12. I can get a 14 out of 12 if this dies, but the actual max number there never goes up. So this store sucks. We roll it. Now we see our first 6 cost, Lava Golem. Fortunately, this really is just only useful with other elementals, so it doesn't really make sense with us. This could be an okay spell to cast, however, we've already cast a spell. Ritual. I'll never get that term right, but Ritual. Can't cast it. Might as well keep rolling. No sense to lock stuff that we don't have any use for. Shadow Training is great. Remember, so see how this Solid Shadow has the hidden keyword and has a hidden animation? I can actually make any unit in the game hidden permanently by casting Shadow Training on it. So if I really wanted hidden on a unit, which honestly sometimes you are going to want, I would be down to just lock this shop for that. However, nothing really here makes huge sense making hidden. Actually, you know what? That's not true. Grek would be a pretty good unit to be hidden. You know why? Because this unit, it wants to end, so it wants to get the kill, right? And not only that, but it would preserve the barrier if it was hidden. Now I could, let's say this is an example of like, I want to lock this spell, but I don't necessarily care about any of these units in the shop. Maybe I care about Mind Sapper. So if I wanted, I have some options here. I could sell this unit and just buy Mind Sapper right now. That's definitely an option. Or I could buy whatever else I can afford just so I free up some slots for next turn and have some stuff on the bench. So what I could do is I could buy the Water Elemental, sell it. You know, I'd buy it, I'd be down to 2. Sell it, I'd be back up to 3, and then buy this, leave that on the bench. Leave the Solid Shadow on the bench. Then I've spent all my mana and I've freed up 2 spells, or 2 unit slots, so that when I begin the next fight, I get 2 new units. However, I do see a unit here that I just sort of want. Mind Sapper is really good. It is a magical unit that'll keep benefiting. Now, granted, it does seem kind of weird to sell this Mana Guardian when it's got an 18/18 on the stats. However, for the purposes of this, I'm just going to do this to show something you might do. So now I have a Mind Sapper, which is a unit I probably want. It's magical, so we'll keep gaining from the Scholar's Pledge. And the nice thing about Mind Sapper is I can cast something like Magic Aura on it, and instead of getting a 3/3 like you normally get, it would get a 6/6. So we can really scale this quite quickly. And also, remember that promotion spell? The one that I was able to upgrade a unit to the next cost? Well, keep in mind this effect says when a ritual is cast on me, its effects apply twice. So I can actually have it level up twice. And so I did say I'm the max level here, right? I'm level 5, 6 cost is the max unit I'll ever see in my shop. But there is actually a level of cost unit above 6, these 7 cost units, and there's only certain ways to get them. And promoting a Mind Sapper is one of them. That's one way to get them, because I will double promote the unit essentially, so it'll go from a 5 cost and it'll skip right over the 6 cost and become a 7 cost because its ritual would be double applied. The other, maybe we'll get to the others soon, but we'll take a look at the 7 costs because they're pretty important for endgame fights. We're gonna Shrek them here. They stand no chance. We're just gonna farm them for some stats here. Now, Flamber is a nice unit. We didn't see it on our playthrough here, but that's a nice one. That it's a unit that you pay some upfront actual, useful stat. Or the unit itself is not useful as a fighter, but similar to Mana Guardian or Mana Pest, it has a really good on-death effect where when it dies, it gives a 2/2 permanently to the unit behind. It's really nice for scaling like a ranged unit. So here we go. We got a new unit in the shop. It was a Bloodsucker. Not really that useful as to us at the moment. We don't want to buy any of these, but we do want to get the Shadow Training, so let's go ahead and just do that here. So now this unit is permanently stealth. It cannot be targeted by the enemy, which is something we want, right? We want them to attack our Mana Pest. We want them to attack the Bukes. We don't want them to attack Grek. We want Grek to maintain its barrier and kill a unit and still live. Now let's keep re-rolling. Now here we go. This is what I talked about. 7 cost units, right? Now obviously I can't cast another ritual because I don't have any artifacts that allow me to. But I could lock this for next turn, which is totally legit, I think. The Hellfire Elite, I will have to spend 8 mana. It's a lot of mana. However, we can see basically the top tier. We'll get a random top tier unit in the game. I think it's worth it. Plus, we can just grab doubles on this boost unit. And it's a great target to just keep on our bench, right? You know, we eventually would love to triple this boost, because if we triple it, you know, we upgrade it, it will now be gaining +4, +2. Because keep in mind, I said basically any effect these units have when they're upgraded, it just doubles the effect. So instead of getting 2-1 permanently on the Skrek, we'd be getting a 4-2 permanently on the Skrek. Also, since it's a magical unit, anytime we cast a ritual, it'll get a +2, +1. So when we triple it, it'll actually get all of those 2-1 applications combined into it. Now this is an interesting situation, right? We could keep rerolling, but we're going to lose the Hellfire Elite spell if we do that. So since I do want to lock for this, but I again don't really care about the units, I have bench slots open. I may as well buy this Mana Pest. What it does is, now I'm going to float 1 mana, and that just is what it is. I can't really get around that if I want to lock for this, and it just happens, right? But the nice thing is now, because I bought the Mana Pest, I will free up another slot to get another random unit in here that hopefully it's a useful one for us. Who knows, maybe it's another boost, right? But on top of that, I just have another unit on my bench, which represents an additional mana that I can sell in a future turn, right? I'm basically kind of increasing my ability of resource, or my pool of resources here. A lot of times you'll just buy whatever unit you can afford. It doesn't matter what the unit is. Alright, we're gonna absolutely destroy. Look, ooh, okay. That was interesting. He actually had a unit. I didn't hover the unit, but it was the Iron Ogre that attacked me. It kind of hard counters my barriers. It's the only way that I actually lose the barrier on my stealth unit. But basically what it does is, because it attacked one of my units with barrier, it did a 1-1 to everybody. Ooh, this is a good unit, Kraken Hunter. This is a unit that has both ranged and overkill. So remember that Bloodsucker that we had overkill early on? So not only is this unit ranged like a Serpentina is, but it also, any excess damage that it killed on a frontliner will carry over to a backliner. But we can't afford that and this, so we have to make a decision. Do we want a Kraken Hunter, or do I want a random 7-cost unit plus the buffs that will be applied? I'm going to go for that level 7 unit. Alright, we got Abomination. Abomination is a unit that works quite well when you have a summoning build, which we don't have. Outside of that, it's not too useful, I would say. It is one of these units that's really meant to hyperscale. So you'll notice, I'll just put it here really quick so we can get a better view on it. So the Abomination, it's a large, it's a monster, it's a beast. Whenever a friendly unit dies, I gain 2/2 permanently. So it starts out with pretty lackluster stats, 8/7, but quite quickly, if you have a build where a lot of your units are dying and re-summoning like smaller units, like a rat build, for example, this unit will be great. It will just keep getting, like say this unit dies, he'll get a 2/2, and it was a unit that summons units on death. Then it would summon another unit, and then I get another 2/2 when that summoned unit died. So I can really hyperscale the unit in that case. However, this just isn't a build where my stuff dies. Like my build, stuff survives. You know, I have barriers. I don't have any summons. I have ranged units. My stuff isn't dying. So the Abomination, this is what you kind of get hit and miss with Hellfire Elite. Hellfire Elite might give you something that fits your build, might give you something that doesn't fit your build. Now here's the thing, sometimes the units that you get don't fit your build, but they're so powerful that you just entirely restructure your build. You try to basically transition into a new build that fits whatever unit you got. Like let's say in the shop I actually had some stuff that summons, nothing here does, but I could be inclined to maybe just put the Abomination in and start transitioning to a summon build, but we don't see anything like that. We technically see a Nature's Wrath right here, which does work with a summoning build, but it's kind of a chicken-egg scenario. It's a unit that enchants your summoning units. We still don't have any units in here that actually do summoning, so not really useful to us. We're seeing a lot of the same. We've already cast a ritual, so I can't cast that. We're not seeing anything useful. Oh, but there we go. Boom. We got a boost. So we definitely want to lock that. Oh, and look at that. Deal with the Devil. Deal with the Devil is just like Hellfire Elite, except it costs 2 less mana. But it does cost you 5 damage of your health, which we have 39 health. That's no problem to me. Another nice thing is it can't kill you. So let's say I was on like 3 health. I could still cast this. I would go down to 1 health. It wouldn't actually kill me. But we do want to upgrade our boots. Like I said, I'm going to be getting a 4-1 permanently, which is a lot better than a 2-1 permanently. Plus, I just get a bunch of stats applied. Now again, we're floating 1 mana. But what I can do is, I'm never going to use this Mana Pest, right? So why don't we just sell it, get 2 mana, and buy this 2 mana Fire Elemental? Because I don't want to ever see this in my shop, right? I might as well free up this slot. So who knows? Maybe this comes in and it's another Serpentina, right? Then I can triple it. So we'll go ahead and begin this fight. This bot they have the Flamber. I figured it's always worth mentioning this unit because to me this is a unit that you're often going to want to use in a lot of builds to scale some units. So I see now this guy got 2/2 permanent scaling from that Flamber. Roquan never stood a chance. Oh, look at that. They did take the evolution though. Alright, time to triple here. Notice we have 14 folks. The Mana Pest died. Now actually, I'm going to actually illustrate something here. So, when you do a spell like this that adds another unit and your entire set of slots are filled, it technically doesn't waste it. So my bench is filled, my board is filled. I can't actually buy, like, if I wanted to buy a cavalry right now, I couldn't. It wouldn't let me. Like, it just won't let me because everything's full. It'll let me buy the boots because I will just upgrade automatically. So if I drag this, it'll let me do it. It'll upgrade, even though I'm full. However, if I do a deal with the Devil, is it going to just block me from doing it because my board's full? Well, no, not actually. So notice what it did there is it actually gave me the unit, but it's not on my bench yet. I have a choice now to basically buy it from the shop for 0. So we know we don't want this Fire Elemental, so let's just sell it back to free up a slot, and boom, now I have that unit. But you can do that sometimes when you have a full board and you don't really want to sell anything that you have, and you just want to take a peek at what it's going to get you. So say I didn't want a 10-foot. 10-foot I probably want, though, because I have greeners. I'll show you why. And also another benefit about doing that before buying the boost is because I cast a ritual, I got a +2/1 on this boost and this boost. If I combine them first, I only get the 2/1 on the upgraded version of the unit. However, now instead of getting a 2/1, I essentially gave myself a +4/+2 because when I combine this, I get the +2/1 that I've got applied to both of these boosts. Now we see something that actually synergizes with our build, the Ritualistic Tome. Rituals cost 2 mana less. Now I could do that. I could also take Ambush Tactics, slot 4 links to every other slot if there is a hidden unit on it. That could make sense if, say, we want to cast Hidden on Boost. I could then put Boost in slot 4 here, and if he was hidden, it would link to every other slot. Right now, I would technically get benefit from it anyway because I do have the Stealthed Assassin, so I could get the benefit from Serpentina. But I would say that, well, you know what? Even though a Ritualistic Tome does make more sense for our build, I just want to illustrate Ambush Tactics because it is kind of a neat thing. So seeing this, because my Assassin is stealthed, Ambush Tactics triggers, I'm on slot 4 here, and I actually link to every other slot. It doesn't matter for these up here, but it does matter for these Serpentinas, right? Because Serpentina gives attack, so I'm now getting a ton of attack. I do 40 attack here. Now, I got this 10-foot, much more useful to my build than a Abomination. We're not a full-on greener build, but I do have this greener that has been getting extra stats. So this 10-foot reads, gain attack and health equal to the permanent attack and health of increases on friendly greeners. So by default, it's just a 6/6, not impressive at all, right? But if I put it on the board, now it's a 56-34. I'm gaining every stat that the Grek already gained. And now I could even transition my build to something like this. I could add a cavalry. It doesn't have any stats yet, but my boost is actually connected to the Grek because I connect to every slot from 4 since I'm stealth, but I'm also connected to this cavalry, which is a greener. And I will get a +4/2 permanently every turn, which will then in turn give all of those extra stats a 10-foot. This is probably a lot of information at this point, but you know, I'm just getting it done here. So I think this is pretty much illustrated most of what you need to know for the basics of this game. If anything, I'll play the rest of this out, and if I can see any other learning opportunities, I will show them. Also, there's another learning opportunity. Check out my damage here. See how there's a fire above it? I'm doing 11. I had 4 units left over at the end, right? So normally each unit that survives the fight does 1 amount of damage to the enemy. However, all of us are now max level. We're all level 5. So what's happening is the units do extra damage. They actually do 2 damage per surviving. So instead of doing 5 + 4, which would have been 9, I'm doing... well, okay, let me correct that statement. The upgraded units do extra damage. So Serpentina is not upgraded, but Bootst and Grek were. So the surviving units the last fight were Serpentina, Bootst, the 2 Serpentinas, Bootst, and the Grek. So I did 1 damage with the Serpentinas, but I actually did 2 damage with the Bootst and the Grek. So, you know, 2 + 2 is 4, +1 + 1 is 6, +5 is 11. I did 11 damage, essentially. Now, look at this spell, Eruption. Eruption is very, very useful in a lot of fights. Let's say I was fighting against a board like this, where there was 3 barriers. Eruption says at the start of a fight, do 4 damage to every enemy. I'm going to go ahead and just cast it here. What it would do is it would break all of these barriers on my units, which is actually pretty devastating, right? Now keep in mind, 68, I'm already getting benefit out of the 10-foot here. Like when I have this on the board, you know, because I got +4, +2 permanently on that last fight, now I'm getting those additional stats there. Knowledge Fiend is also another useful unit to keep an eye on. Let's go ahead and just sell a unit. We don't care probably about this anymore. I can go ahead and just illustrate this unit. I guess Buke, you get to come out. I would probably not do that normally, but Knowledge Fiend is a very end-game oriented unit, and a lot of it would counter play, say, my own 10-foot, right? If the enemy has a Knowledge Fiend, the way this works is at the start of the fight, gain stats of the unit in the same slot on the enemy team. So whatever enemy unit is in slot 2 here, I will gain the stats. Now typically, a lot of times the enemy will put one of their most highest attack units in slot 1. Now I could scout the enemy, right? I'm scouting the enemy right now. I saw them 4 rounds ago, so maybe their board is still the same, and actually their best unit here is in slot 3. See that? Slot 3, the Earth Elemental. So how about we just go ahead and do that then? We'll go ahead and put our Knowledge Fiend in slot 3, and let's hope that the enemy still is on that slot. We could lock for this if we wanted, maybe lock for that. I'm not really liking it. Not liking that. Not liking that. Let's go ahead and just begin the fight without locking anything, because I just don't like any of this. But let's see if our Knowledge Fiend hits the right target. Okay, it changes board, so it didn't really do much. It gains the stack of this Lava Golem, the health and the attack of it. So the bot has been keeping busy. I have no idea why they would remove their Earth Elemental, considering it was literally more powerful than anything on their board, but you know, the bots do what they do. We can't claim to know the mind of a bot. We don't know why they're taking Ghoul Juice with no summons. You know, they do things. Well, we might as well. We could buy the cavalry. We don't really need to. Let's just keep rolling here. We might as well do this. Let's give a link to the 10 foot so it gains this benefit. So now we're getting to the later game where a lot of units or a lot of players have died now, right? We're technically fighting a dead unit, so we can actually be pretty certain that their board looks about the same. That's a weak board, but go ahead and put the Knowledge Fiend there, since technically that should be where their most powerful unit is. Keep rolling here. If anything useful comes up, we'll take it. We might as well take another Knowledge Fiend. Knowledge Fiend getting upgraded is quite good. We could also just get the Mind Sapper upgraded. So we have options here. Let's sell the Mana Pest. I could technically upgrade the Mind Sapper right now and get a level 5 treasure and just lock for the Knowledge Fiend. So I could sell these. Let's go ahead and just do that. Feels bad to sell the Buke, but hey, we're just training, right? Okay, so we have some stuff here. You know, we've had this death contract for a while. It's not a 1/1 at this point in the game isn't that useful to us. We can go ahead and replace this. Probably with Shadow Blade. We could do Strategic Gamble, but I really like keeping my units in the slots they're at right now. You know, then I don't really want these Serpentinas to get shifted to the front, but Strategic Gamble can be a nice one in a lot of builds where you don't care that much about your positioning because you just get an 8/8 on every unit. Strength in numbers doesn't really benefit us because we're not really running a lot of small units. But we do have this Assassin unit, and Shadow Blade could probably benefit them, right? When an Assassin attacks, it gains attack equal to the target's health. So on top of the 64 attack I already have, I will gain additional attack when I attack, literally equal to the enemy's health. It basically guarantees that an Assassin always kills their target. Pretty powerful treasure when you're running an Assassin. Now let's go ahead and just lock the Knowledge Fiend. We would like to get it. The Knowledge Fiend upgrades incredibly well. You know, it right now it reads at the start. I predict this unit will get nerfed at some point. It's already been nerfed once. I think it's going to get nerfed again. But for the record, right now what it does is it gains stats equal to the unit that's in the same slot. Now, if I upgraded it, well, you know, I did say usually when these things upgrade, it does double the effect. And sure enough, that is how Knowledge Fiend works. When it's upgraded, it will literally gain double the stats of the unit that it's across the slot in. So right now, you know, we scout Rokwa here. I will gain a 1226 unupgraded. I would actually gain a 2452. So maybe not that impressive for a bot, but let's say I countered a build like mine that has this 10 foot with 8749. I'd be gaining like over 100 attack and like 100 health if I get the upgraded version. So we definitely want to upgrade Knowledge Fiend. So it looks like we got it here. Keep in mind also the way that their board looks, it's like it mirrors it horizontally and vertically. So slot 3 was actually slot, slot 3 there. It's like, I don't know. You see what I'm saying? Like 1, 1, 1. I don't know. I'm tired. Give me a break. All right. So now we're down to a 1-on-1. Now we'll never fight any of the dead people. It's just going to be us against each other. We're probably just going to kill him here. So wow, he's actually running 2 Knowledge Fiends of his own. We've seen him 3 rounds ago. So we actually want to try to play around this. If indeed they still have their Knowledge Fiend in these slots, we absolutely don't want to give him 10 foot stats, right? So why don't we move 10 foot to somewhere where we think that maybe their Knowledge Fiends aren't, so we can just try the second slot there. Hopefully they didn't shift it. We should also put our own Knowledge Fiend in a position where they might have stats. So it doesn't really make sense to have a Knowledge Fiend on a Knowledge Fiend, unless we just want to counter their Knowledge Fiend. You know, that works too. Because in a sense, like wherever we put a unit, their Knowledge Fiends are going to gain stats. So like I could do something like, I could do something like this, and that's maybe perfectly fine, right? I'm giving up my own slots here to try to counter theirs. So I'm looking at Gordo's board. He has... we also get to see their treasures, too. That might influence our decision. But yeah, I think I just want to try to put my Knowledge Fiends where his are. Alternatively, if we didn't have Knowledge Fiends, but he did, we could even do something like this. Just not play anything there to really hard counter them. This is where the mind games come in when there's a one-on-one. This is usually my favorite / most frustrating point of the game, but we might as well keep them in because it counters them just the same, but if they did shift their units around, we still want to gain stats from whatever they shifted into those slots. Let's go ahead and just do this for, you know, shits and giggles. We don't care. We're probably just going to beat him. So look at that. He actually upgraded his Knowledge Fiend. That's pretty wild. A bot actually doing that. But a good thing we didn't put the 10 foot in slot 1. If we did, he would have gained 200 attack and 100 health on that thing. Bot might even beat us at that point. Probably not because our Grek is pretty powerful. But yeah, here we go. We'll definitely kill him here. 11 damage is more than his 10 health, so we win the game. And then you'll get a nice recap of what your stuff was. You can go ahead and take screenshots of your wins just to remember what your builds were, so that in the future you can kind of adjust accordingly to what you've found to be powerful. But yeah, that's going to do it for this one. Hopefully that was a good kind of comprehensive guide of what you can do. If you're ever curious, Codex is very useful to look through everything. Like, you can look through the units if you're particular, you know, if you want to see what are all the magical units. There's a lot of them. You know, you can also, if you're just worried about like what are like certain levels, you know, we could look at the 7 cost units, all of the max tier units. You know, we saw the Abomination, we saw the 10 foot, but there's all these other ones we could randomly get. And as you can see, a lot of them might influence a direction to go in. Like this Hellfire Knight, linked demons get 30/30, so you might really want to get some demons going. Or this Hydrax has, you know, you're gaining stats on a beast unit. Similarly, it's useful to learn what cost level these artifacts are at, because a lot of these artifacts can allow you to go into a particular build. So like, for instance, you got rat bait we didn't see rats in that game because they were banned, but if rats were not banned, we would see a lot of them. There's a lot of rats in the game. You know, if I go back to the rats, oh, we don't want cost level 7. You know, there's all these rat units, and they all typically have like summon undeath and whatnot, but you know, to go back to the artifact, the rat bait, it's a 2-cost treasure, so you know, combine 2-cost units to get a chance to see rat bait. And if you're wanting to go rats, which honestly there's some archdemon that basically force you to go rats, right? Like if your archdemon that you choose is a rat, you really have no reason not to go rats, right? Ratikins gain 1 attack for every other Ratikin. You basically won't make use of your hero power if you don't go rats in that case. So you really are trying to combine 2 costs to try to get that rat bait, because rat bait will give you a huge advantage in trying to find more rats, right? Every Ratikin will cost 1 mana less when you buy them in the store, so that gains you tons of mana over the course of a run. And then similarly, thinking about rats, Potent Brew here, for a 4-cost, all Ratikins gain 1/1 permanently when you buy another Ratikin. So you similarly, as you want to try to combine 2 costs, you also really want to try to combine 4 costs when you're playing rats, because that's going to give you a chance at Potent Brew. And you know, the difference between a rat run with or without Potent Brew is quite significant. Sometimes you won't find it. I mean, I've had plenty of runs where I force trying to get 4-cost treasures. I'll even buy non-rat units that I know aren't contested to try to force it. But we're kind of getting to the weeds now. We're getting into stuff that isn't necessarily beginner stuff, right? But it is just useful to try to study these if you are serious about getting good at the game, to know which cost level these treasures are at, so that you know which units you might want to try to combine to get a particular treasure. Or even if you're about to combine a unit of a certain cost, you can kind of get an idea of the potential artifacts that will show up. And you can also look through the rituals, just see what's available. There's a lot of them. But anyway, yeah, hopefully this was useful. And like I said, if major changes happen that invalidate anything I've said here, I will pin comments to this video. Look to the pinned comments. As always, thanks for watching, and until next time, peace.